Good evening, and welcome back to the Mole RP channel, and welcome back to Diablo 4 and the Campfire Chat. This is the first one Blizzard is doing, and welcome in, folks. Welcome in, and good morning, good evening. I didn't do the voice this time, I'm sorry. Welcome in, folks. Welcome in. Let me switch to live here. I have not set up my cam, so haha. Take past mole. Yes, because I have totally. I hate that so much. You know, I'm looking back to the times, chat, where the cam would always be set up, right? Like no matter what. But we're not getting that anymore because bad luck. Give me just a second here. Give me just a second. Alrighty, as you can see, I am an actually highly professional streamer. Hi, how are you all doing, folks? Good to see you. Welcome in, welcome in. It is Friday, and it is time for the Diablos. Yes, I'm actually really curious about this. And hello there, Zeke. How are you doing, man? Good to see you. Hello, hello, welcome in. I know that slowly people pouring in or not, because this is technically an impromptu stream, and well, we still have about 30 minutes left before the whole thing is even starting. So if you have to grab something to drink, to eat, or have to do like a nightmare dungeon run in Diablo, now is the best time for it, because you still have like 30 minutes ish before this whole thing is starting. But now you might ask, why are you starting early then, Mo? Are you playing some Diablo before it starts? No, unfortunately not. But we have things to talk about, believe it or not. Where is the whole thing actually starting? Let me see. Where's this thing starting so I can already have the stream open? Is it only the T place? The purple place? Or is it also on YouTube? Let me see. Blah blah blah. Oh, they have both. Okay, awesome. Then we can go to the YouTube one, and it's already live. Well, isn't that helpful? What are you streaming at? What are you streaming at? Let me see what your bitrate is. Give me your bitrate. 9,000? Still better than Twitch. Wait, what? What happened? Also, let me put that in the background, and then I will position my face respectively when it happens. I don't know where yet. I mean, I can already do that, right? I can just go into Spruing, and then I position myself right. No, I will find a place. I will find the place, wherever that might be. We will find something. We will find something where I can put my face on. That's a good thing about the new camera. I will definitely find a point. But let's talk a little bit about this, because this was unexpected. This was basically announced yesterday, if I'm not completely mistaken, and they have to talk to us, and they have to talk about the things they are doing very soon. Now, before anybody is getting a little bit too excited here and thinks, oh my god, maybe they're talking about Season 1, maybe new content, I have an inkling that will not be the case. We kind of know when Season 1 is coming. Season 1 is coming by the mid to end July, right? And that's where we are getting the new content or whatever it will be. I'm just hoping for Blizzard that Season 1 will be more than just what they did in Diablo 3 most of the time. So for everyone who hasn't played Diablo 3, for a long time the so-called seasons in Diablo 3 have been nothing than a new enemy type, or hey, you have now a chance to find a statue where there can be 3 loot goblins spawning. Wow. Right? Like some bizarre and, well, very unambitious stuff. Because let's be real here, Diablo 3 was dead for quite some time. I would say between after the first 2 or 3 years to the last 3 years of the game, in between the game was not. There was nothing happening in the game. And then, of course, they changed that. But I'm just, man, look, it's the year 2023, and I don't think you can really make seasons anymore where you are asking people to start a completely new character a month after launch, or a month and a half after launch, and then the only thing you are adding is you are now fighting 2 loot goblins. Right? That's like, yeah, you look, we have all played Path of Exile, or most of us have played Path of Exile or similar games, and yeah, the seasons are a little bit more impactful there. And I'm hoping that the first season will be winning people over, right? Like it's not like bad. It's thankfully not like some other games which are coming out in a state of completely disarray and disrepair, and you already know that the first season must be the thing which wins over everyone to come back. The good thing, that's not the problem Blizzard has with Diablo 4, thankfully, right? I think we can all be very happy about that. But still, I would like for them and for us as players to start in a good season, right? I mean, it's the first season, right? So I'm hoping for a little bit more. What else? Nerfs. But what I'm really thinking about is that we'll talk about nerfs, and there will be some harsh ones coming, or some big buffs. Unfortunately, in the last few days and weeks, Blizzard has been showing that they like to nerf things instead of buffing things. And there are 2 things which I think need some big attention right now. The first one, they already nerfed. If you have missed it, I think yesterday or the day before, Blizzard released a patch where they nerfed fast leveling. So people found out a way how they basically could bring a character from level 1 to level 50 in about an hour. Now, of course, you can argue that maybe that is a little bit too fast, right? And that needs some fixing. I think nobody will sit here and say, oh, they shouldn't have done that. Oh, that's bad. No, I think everyone can agree that that is not really what they want and what should be the case. Now, what I find interesting on this, and why I'm pointing this out in the end, is what they have nerfed. So they didn't nerf the whole process of people leveling fast. They didn't touch that. People can still do that. What they did is they nerfed the monster amount in specific dungeons, which kind of made that possible. And I'm like, oh, so you nerfed the frequency of mobs in specific dungeons? Why? I don't know how you are feeling about this, folks, but, and please let me know down below in the comments if you're watching this later or in the live chat, but I kind of sometimes have the feeling already when you are running dungeons, depending on which dungeon you get, And depending on which mission you have to do in those dungeons, there are already not a lot of monsters around, right? It's like I have already the feeling I have too many empty rooms, too many empty fights where there are only like 3 or 4 enemies are coming in, and then there are also range enemies which are dispersing, and I'm running like each after like every after blah, blah, blah. Okay, let me try this again. I'm running after each single enemy in the room like an idiot, and I'm like, wait, I'm getting to you, nearly there. It's like, oh, that's not really exciting, you know. Yeah, like it's kind of weird that we are back to this topic. If I know a lot of people might have not played Diablo 3, especially not at release, or might have completely forgotten about it, but we had the same topic in Diablo 3 when it came out. People were begging Blizzard to bring in more monster density, because we had literally areas where nothing was happening. And people were just like, hello? Monsters? Anyone? I'm naked. You can attack me now. I'm weak. Hello? And nothing happened. Like, give me monsters, man. And that's what Blizzard nerfed. They nerfed the monster density, but not how people farm faster leveling. Only the density got nerfed. And I'm like, what? Why? Couldn't you have done something else? I mean, it's so weird. Look, here's the rumor that Blizzard will put in like a level to skip in their item shop at some point. And personally, I would say I would not buy it. Because the leveling is in a weird place, but not in a place where it warrants me to skip it. Like, I'm working on 3, like, I have a character over 50, right? My barb. My druid would probably get 50 today or tomorrow. That took me about 10 hours, give or take. And then my Sorc is also on its way, but that would take much longer because I would do a story playthrough with a buddy of mine. And that's a bit different. But in general speaking, Diablo leveling is already, especially when you don't have to do the story missions anymore, kind of a joke. It's not that important, and that's fine. It's still annoying, and I think it could be shorter. Like, give me the old Diablo 3 leveling times back. I don't mind that. But it's also not in the position where it would ever lead me into buying a level skip. Right? Especially because I can just skip the mission. If it would be like PoE, this is one of the reasons, and I have said this so many times, was one of the reasons why I stopped playing PoE, is just whenever a new season came out, it was like, and now please play through the whole story again. I just couldn't anymore. I just couldn't anymore after over a decade. No, I'm sorry. Right? But in Diablo 4, I don't really have that problem. So, yeah, it's just weird. So we will see how that goes. The next topic, when we are talking about nerfs and buffs, you might have seen my left click video here on the channel, or the basic attack video. It's kind of funny. It's like some people agree in the comments, some people don't agree. They think that the basic attacks are in a good place. And I have to say, I'm sorry, they're not. Basic attacks are not in a good place. They're clearly not. Like, if you can run basic attack builds to a certain degree, they're not useless. But they're in a position where when you're reaching a certain point in the game, especially Word Tier 4, you basically throw basic attacks out of the window. And they're not fun to build for most classes. There's only one attack out of 4, which is maybe usable, right? Like, basic attacks need some love, man. They they have to be better integrated, or if there's too much work, then degrade them to some really fast energy regeneration abilities, which right now they're not for every class. They're for some classes, but not for every class. And like they are again in a weird spot, was my point with the video. That was the ultimate goal with this video, to put a spotlight on a category right now which I feel like is in a very weird spot. And yes, there were 1 or 2 comments where people have been totally not watching the video, and I have banned those idiots. I'm sorry, I'm not discussing with you in the comments if you haven't watched the video. If you really just read the title and then immediately go into my comment section underneath a video, I'm not putting up with that. Especially not yesterday, where yesterday was a shit day. Like, just, you can disagree with me. I don't have a problem with that. I love to have like discussions about different points of views, and maybe it helps me to better see like better angles to improve my playstyle and all that. I love that shit. Like, I think that disagreeing on things which are not bad, right? Like, we are literally talking about basic attacks here, is a good thing. But if you're coming into my channel and you are starting to talk like shit in my comments without having even seen the video, no. No. That's like going into a restaurant, saying the food is shit, and you haven't even ordered yet, right? It's like, come on, man. At least order something. But no, my point is, I think Blizzard has been shown that they want people to use more basic attacks, and they're okay with nerfing builds for that. Right? They're okay with that. So, which builds will be nerfed? Pulverized Druid. Sorry, Druids. You will get the axe. So let me tell you a story. I'm normally doing homebrew builds, and I just wanted to see how the Druid, like Pulverized Druid, is working. I wanted to see how a cookie cutter build is performing in conjunction to my homebrew builds. And so I've been running a Pulverized Druid right now. I have the legendaries for it. And I've killed the Butcher twice today. At level 40, without any shrines or any crazy stuff around. Right? And I'm like, wait, what? What just happened? Right, like, the Butcher is absolutely crazy, especially in the early levels, and I just murdered him in the earlier levels, and it's like, that should that happen? I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm like, with my barb, I'm now killing the Butcher. It's not takes sometimes a little bit, but it's not really a big deal anymore. But with all my leveling jars, when I sometimes meet the Butcher, normally it goes a little bit different, but Pulverized Druid just doesn't give a shit. Like, it's absolutely crazy. And so I think that the Pulverized Druid will get another nerf today. Sorks, the Ice Sorks, I have a bad feeling about that as well. Necromancer, we have to see. The problem is that Necromancers don't really have like a lot of evasive builds. Like, that's the interesting thing about Necromancers. When you're looking at the Necromancer build or the talent tree, I think you realize very quickly you don't really have that many options in general. So Blizzard has to be a little bit more careful in what they are nerfing, right? For the bombs, Whirlwind will maybe get another nerf, or not even Whirlwind. I think they would just nerf again the whole screaming thing, that you basically can get Fury without a basic attack. and you just use your shouts to get their fury up all the time. And yes, they already nerfed that. I'm aware of it. I'm just saying they will probably nerf it again. Yeah. Because I don't think that was something they wanted, that you have 5 skills and at least 3 of those skills are shouts, and you don't really use them because you love their buffs so much. You utilize them because, hey, thanks to a legendary, I can get fury out of it. Right? You don't really care what those shouts do. You just need the shouts to give fury so that you don't have to use your auto attacks. So I assume they will get a nerf again. I'm feeling that kind of. Rogues. I don't think that rogues will get a nerf. They are strong, but they are also glass cannons. I think that's another problem with the pulverized druid, right? A lot of people don't see actually till you have played it, but the pulverized druid is doing insane amount of damage. Like trembling, pulverize, insane amount of damage, right? But you are also tanky as hell. Like there is nothing really which can hurt you. It's just this, oh damn, I was standing in the biggest shit the boss has ever fired at me, and I lost maybe 1% of my health bar. It's a bit crazy, you know. Like I don't have a problem with classes which have like tons of DPS potential, like the rogue. The rogue is doing some insane damage. But if you get hit as a rogue, something am I? Well, if you get hit as a rogue, that is not a great experience, to say the least. So I can totally get behind the idea that you do tons of damage, but you're also a glass cannon. It gets problematic when you do tons of damage and your character is just standing in every attack and doesn't really care. It's like, yeah. That was one of the reasons why they nerfed the Thorn build of the Barbarian. Too much in my opinion. But back then, there was a reason for it, right? Like the Barb could literally just stand in everything and do so much damage and not even get remotely close to lose too much health. That was one of the reasons why they nerfed that shit into the ground. And I have the feeling we will get that. Maybe, here's the thing. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm full of shit. Well, I'm definitely full of shit, but maybe I'm wrong here and we will actually have some buffs coming in and Blizzard is trying to get some order in with Season 1. I'm not expecting them to do something too soon. Like right now, I think they are trying to figure out like just stuff for themselves. And we will see like a lot of changes coming with Season 1. But yeah, I think this will be a live stream of easing us into some of the bigger changes. Anything else which needs changes? I could start a whole discussion about the nightmare dungeons, but that would take more than 3 minutes. Let's just say right now, nightmare dungeons have been okay. I don't know. Nightmare dungeons have been, you win some, you lose some, you know, kind of feeling to it. Yeah. Oh god, there's so much to discuss. Like another thing I would love to discuss is switching your build. I know that Blizzard is always saying that no, we want you that you find a connection to your build and you try to refine your build instead of swapping over the first time you get into some issues. And I'm like, okay, but why do you make it so easy then to swap to a certain degree? And then you're like, oh yeah, if you want to get the glyphs for all of this, then good luck. Like, we will see. I'm just really curious to hear from the team. How they feel since the release, what they're working on, what the goals are right now, and what we can expect. It doesn't have to be something grander, it doesn't have to be something big. Like as I said, I'm not expecting a Season 1 introduction here. That will probably happen somewhere in July, probably at the same time, which there will also talk about Season 1 then, which is around the corner at that point. But just want to hear from them, like, where do we stand with all of this, you know? And now we have to see, where do I put my cam? Come on, Blizzard. Show your faces. And let me know where I can put my cam. Why not? Well, time for me to take a drink. Woo-ha! I have to say, though, to say something really positive, this was the smoothest release of a Blizzard game I think we ever had. Like, just in general, man, was that smooth. I think the only other game we had who had a similar smooth release was Overwatch 1. That was super smooth. But yeah, this was like, oh, such a smooth release. Oh. The time of prophecy has come. Oh, look. Please watch this trailer, because you are probably as hyped as we are about Diablo 4, because, you know, you haven't played this yet. Unfortunately, there is not my review in this. Also, spoilers. There's some spoilers in that trailer. Damn. Hi. Hey, yeah, definitely not in his crotch. I will not be in his crotch.
Campfire Chats.
Now, this is not
first ever.
This is not a live stream.
This is not, well, this is,
even though it's live.
It is live.
Now, it's not a dev stream.
It's not a developer update live stream. Right. As you guys know, this is a little bit different than what we had before. We still will have developer update live streams.
I don't want to be on Rod Ferguson's forehead.
We wanted to get an opportunity to get in front of the community and use this as a way of being able to talk with you guys whenever we need to, and in a casual format. So don't expect a lot of like trailers or videos and so forth in this.
How does that look?
We still will have developer update live streams. Our next one is going to be in July. But
makes sense.
We are most definitely going to have more of these campfire chats here in the future. And with those developer update live streams, you will get those big announcements and the big reveals and us going into more detail about big updates that might be coming.
That's fine.
In the future. But for campfire chats, we want to use this format to kind of chat with the community and make sure that you all get an opportunity to actually hear from us and talk to us.
I can make myself actually a little bit smaller.
We're saying instead of we keep this seating arrangement instead of between two ferns, between two jerks, but he wouldn't go for it.
Rod made up this joke literally 30 seconds ago. So.
Wow.
Like, aren't you supposed to make up jokes on the fly? Like, what do you like script all your jokes? So you workshop them?
I mean, it didn't
You go
work
like,
30 seconds ago.
You know, sometimes you have to be funny off camera and then try to be funny on camera. You know, it doesn't always. Magic has to happen when it happens, Adam.
Well, magic that did happen.
So you can see why this is a campfire.
Yeah. And
It's not scripted.
We actually have to get a campfire in
You
here.
do, or at least a flickering orange light.
And then
movie magic.
Well, a flickering light as opposed to a real campfire, so we don't burn down everything. And then
That's security watch we allow.
And then suddenly everyone will hate us. But we.
I brought s'mores.
You did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I brought a version of s'mores. Like, I wanted Oreo s'mores, and I got Target like gerbated me, so I'm like, I have the Target brand s'mores flavored cookies. So if you wanna
What
really
the
get a
hell
campfire
is
notion,
that?
We could eat s'mores while
Rod
talking about
just
the
wanted
game.
to eat
I just
on
wanna eat
camera.
cookies. You don't get a body like this without eating cookies, Tiffany. Like, come on.
Rod also has explained to us 3 or 4 different times about his unsuccessful attempts at buying s'mores.
I had a lot of desire to acquire Oreo s'mores last night.
It's been a morning.
S'moreos.
S'moreos.
I'm sorry, I'm saying it
S'moreos.
incorrectly. I wanted s'moreos last night and I failed, but I will.
Where's
crown
my
my
cookies?
campaign with Target brand s'mores cookies.
Sounds
Wait.
good. Sounds good. Well, while Rod is doing that, we do want to talk about launch and how that went. Obviously, D4 is now out in the wild. We.
Oh, yeah, please,
had
let us know.
A really great launch. I mean, like.
Yeah.
We know the community's been really amped about the game. Reviews have been really good.
It
you know,
was
couple weeks
a
since
good
the
launch for
launch as
Blizzard.
well. And also, like, huge shout out to
Doesn't
the
happen
here,
often.
The live ops team, Tiffany here. By the way, I haven't done
You didn't even
intros.
introduce
I
people.
didn't even
You're a
introduce
terrible
people.
This is
host.
completely
This is
Why
unscripted.
between two jerks? You didn't
Awful.
even introduce people.
Awful. All right, let me do that first before we
Did
actually.
you just make Joe Shelley?
Hi, my name is
It's
ChaosMole.
the
I'm a
smart thing and the
YouTuber
really bad
and
jokes.
streamer,
It's just
as you can
throwing
see.
you off.
Welcome to
Right
my
next to your
show.
mic.
Exactly.
Hi.
Yeah, as you like bite into the plastic and rip it off and so forth.
Just introduce the
Well,
people.
All right. Well, we have Joe Shelley here, who's the game director for Diablo 4. We have Tiffany Watt here, who's our associate production director for Diablo 4, and then of course Rod Ferguson.
Yeah.
And Rod Ferguson.
But I mean, beyond just associate production, like Tiffany's, what is it? Your sphere of influence, your remit of control, your the things you're like. But live ops is your thing, right? That's kind of the thing.
Yes, it's one of the things I'm very passionate about. I work with a very, very large live ops team that goes beyond just the Diablo.
So she is
definitely
doing
congratulations to everybody across Blizzard
live
that's
service
supporting
stuff.
us.
Okay.
Lots of time spent in the war room. Lots of
Interesting.
time with Adam was
Which is, it's a penalty
It's a-
unto
it's
a
itself.
penalty.
awful.
Yes, is the worst
Absolutely
part.
awful.
No, it was really exciting to work with people across the globe. So lots of Zoom chats, but also a physical war room here on campus, and it was just really cool to finally launch this game, work with so many people to bring it to so many
And it
players.
worked.
Congratulations to
It didn't.
everybody, and
It
I'm really glad
didn't
that everybody-
burn the servers.
Yeah, I think like
No
we have
game-breaking
sort of,
bugs.
In a way, a represent like of a great game
Like,
and a great launch. Right? Like the notion of sometimes you can have a really awesome game and the launch can kind of get in the way of it. You don't get to experience that great game the way you want to. And so I think these are 2 great people to represent that 90 rated game and then the ability to play it since it was launched. So it's awesome. And yeah, thank you so much to everybody who played. We just crossed 350 million hours of play, which is phenomenal and very exciting. So again, thank you so much.
Yeah, I
there's
contributed,
conversation,
I think, a
really
million
about that.
to
Like,
that.
what happens
Yeah.
to a game that gets 350 million hours of play against it? And so, obviously when you're making the game, you can't apply 350 million hours of playtime against it to find, oh, maybe this balance isn't quite what we wanted, or this feature isn't working quite the way we want. And so we wanted to take this opportunity to kind of talk about, now that we've seen it out there for, by the way,
I love how they're bringing this back.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
we
Now,
talked
now
about
we are
this
talking
Diablo
launch
4.
overview. Yeah.
Launch is really just the beginning of our
Not cookies
journey
anymore.
with Diablo 4. This is
The
something
cookie
that
overview
support for years
was
to come.
before this.
We're working on seasons. We're working on expansions.
We know
was
that.
a plural word, and so all that stuff is going into the future. And so the fact that we love the feedback, we're on day 10, and and that's something that we're really.
I'm still not sure how I feel about that they actually will launch like
I do
full-priced
if I can stay on my
expansions
soapbox for just 1 second. Can I
Go
stay on
right
my
ahead,
soapbox?
yeah.
I do want to
for a live service
I think
game
one of the
with a
conversations we
very
can have is around like
expensive
the
item shop.
expectation around changes, because I find like
but
in a live service like this,
that's a different topic.
in Tiffany's world, the notion of a hot fix, which is, how would you like describe to somebody who maybe doesn't understand, like whenever Adam's like, we're doing another hot fix, like what is a hot fix into it from a player's perspective?
So there's a lot of issues that we are able to hotfix on the server, whether it's server code or server data. And those are ones that generally we can turn around a little bit quicker. Obviously, we want to make sure that the fix is solid, doesn't break anything else in the game, that our QA team has an opportunity to run through it and ensure that if we roll it out, when we roll it out to the servers, to all of our players, that it actually improves the game and fixes the issue that we've come across. We also have the opportunity to do client fixes. Those ones are just, it requires an update to the actual player's client. In both cases, for the most part, they are seamless so that players can get that change while they're playing the game. I'm sure you've noticed sometimes when you're logging out that your Battle.net client will pick up an update or you'll pick it up on your console. So the next time that you log in and play Diablo 4, you pick up that client update. Hotfixes are seamless. So as you're playing and you're doing server transitions, as you're going through the world, you'll automatically pick up that update. In both cases, should be seamless and something that we work very, very hard on.
So far it worked.
Fixes
I
tend
can
to
say
take a
that.
little bit more time to get out to our players. We want to treat all of our players. I mean, I'm a console player myself.
Yeah, that's where we have to
Kelly plays
wait
on console.
sometimes.
Ferguson plays on console
NPC.
and PC. Super important that we get these fixes out to our players at the same time so that everyone that plays
Can
Diablo
still
4, regardless
play
of how
together.
they're playing, can experience the same game and the same quality of experience.
I think for the client, what we call the client, so the way you're playing on your actual device, that because we support multiple platforms, we have to often go through certification. And
Yes.
so that's one of the things around pacing that we have to oftentimes pre-plan out.
The good thing
what we're
is they
fixing.
speed
So,
those
hotfixing
verification
stuff we can
process
kinda do on the
up.
fly. It doesn't require a certification pass. Again, it's
But back in the day, it
most
took like up to
occasionally we'll
14
have some
days
tips as we-
before you could push out a
but it's
patch
sort of
on the
philosophically, it's
consoles.
something we decided as a team that rather than bringing the whole game down for an hour to roll out a server change, we would do sort of this sort of rolling changes, and 9 times out of 10, no issues. Occasionally, based on just the scale, like we haven't worked at the scale before.
Yeah,
and so
didn't
sometimes
just
we
a
reach out
hardcore
to
player
this number of
today
servers with this number of
lost
players,
like a
and
character with,
we
what
have
was
to
it,
do a couple,
160
you know,
hours of
during
playtime or
launch
something
day.
through a bug?
But our intention is to keep it going all the time and just try to. But that being said, like I said, we often want to plan well in advance because we have to like QA it. It's not like we can turn. That's one of the things. Like I feel like the feedback is like, I have this problem. I want to see it fixed tomorrow, and you're like, I would love to do that for you, but we have to go through service.
Hey,
we have to
Dragadai.
QA it,
Welcome
we
in,
have to
man.
do all this work.
But yeah, I think it was
We already have
152 hours
a real
hardcore
patch
character,
ready.
which just
And so that's
Boom.
something that's gone through
like
certification,
one
gets
monster
out there,
bugged
addressed a lot of
and
things,
killed that hardcore
performance
character
issues,
after
and
152
even
hours of
we're- it's
playtime.
So big, we're actually talking about the potential.
Oh boy,
And say like, we're going to bring the whole game down. We're going to apply this big patch.
I would be out.
Like, you have
This is
an
why I
artifact
don't
that
play
you
hardcore.
do.
My heart
might run in your
wouldn't
agenda.
allow that.
Slightly, but it's okay.
It's a campfire talk. It's a campfire chat.
Campfire chats. In fact, we have been working on a pretty large client patch. That's
Chunky patch.
It's very chunky.
Ooh,
Chunky
I love
is the
chunky
perfect way of
patches.
describing it.
I love them
That
chunky,
addresses a lot of
chat.
things, and this
Patches.
right here is actually it's 13 pages, but it's not even done yet. But it is just an early preview of kind of what we're putting together. And I have it here.
So is
We
my
probably
camera
won't
the
go
right
into
position?
detail of it all, but we will have it posted obviously
Nope.
when the patch does actually hit. But we do have a lot of different topics
Nope.
we did want to talk about.
But which are pre this. Like
yes.
we're talking about stuff that actually reacts to
hell?
what's going on as opposed to things we already knew we wanted to fix.
And the other thing I wanted to at least let other people know is we were in this initial launch window, so hotfixes were coming like super quick, like at a rapid pace. Because we're trying to, when you have this many players hitting the game, a lot of things kind of crop up, and we were wanting to.
Let me see something. That's
get
better.
those hotfixes out.
Thank you.
Same with like the small client patches. I know a lot of people are going like, but it said like further bug fixes and stability. A lot of that stuff is on the back end to make sure things keep up with players, and we keep stability on the actual servers as players are playing over the weekend, and we have a lot of traffic and things like that. So.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. When we say something like further bug fixes and stability, that's not include. It's not like that bug fix includes like a change to Whirlwind or something.
Yeah.
It's like.
He said Whirlwind chat.
That is comprehensible to our engineers.
Hide your barbs.
Right, and so it ends up not being very useful to go into a lot of detail about those. But anytime there's something that's like, oh, we changed the barbarian. That we call that out.
He's talking a lot about the barbarian. I am feeling very uncomfortable as a barbarian player right now.
Some at least how launch has gone and feedback that we've gotten from the community. We've heard a lot of different topics within the community itself.
Oh boy, here we go.
Just chatting with us or hitting us up on social media.
Screaming at us.
Interesting aspects is like I wanted to create this meme of like, we want a balanced game where there's no meta and every build is viable, and everybody's like, yay! And they're like, we've reduced the power of this class, and they're like, what's going on? Table flip, and you're like, what? We have a philosophy of like, as part of balancing the game, whether that be the world or the classes, there will be pluses and minuses that have to be applied to the game, and the notion of, oh, look, I remember Destiny 2 had Loot Cave, and we're like, there's a Loot Cave. Let's just sit here and farm loot, and we're having so much fun. It's Christmas morning all day long, and like that can't persist. Like, for the good of the game, that has to not exist at some point, right? And so that's a problem that they fixed, and you understand eventually why they did that.
Sure.
I think there's some of that when we have 350 million players.
Why not talk about the
and we go across your intentions from a design
XP
perspective
thingy then.
How do you want players to be gaining XP and sort of growing their levels? And
I think it's a good idea that they're expanding a little bit like how their design philosophy is working, because so many people don't have a clue about it. Right, for them this is all like magic happening in the background.
Through play, like that amount of play.
I feel you, Draco.
so
I feel you. But still,
that's generally.
I'm afraid of
the way I would
collateral.
talk about it is that, and we've talked about consistently throughout development that our goal is to have a lot of choice for players.
Right.
Both in terms of being able to make having lots of good choices for.
Yeah, but do
where
we
you
really
can
though?
Level or acquire loot, and also in terms of your character having lots of choices, right? And so. Sometimes people will say like, well, can't you, anytime something is too strong, can't you just buff everyone else?
Right.
And while in theory you can do that, when you have many classes and many builds, and you have one thing that is too strong.
Like the shout bar build, a lot of people are utilizing right now. It's not a question of
likely to result in more balance issues because
buff others or nerf this one. It's more like a design philosophy which has to be answered here. It's not just a plus minus thing.
5,000% on Whirlwind
Right.
or something,
Right.
and it can get sort of crazy.
You're always just chasing that power.
So yeah, I mean sometimes we have to make changes. We have to nerf things sometimes.
Sure.
But our philosophy is to prioritize improving choice by looking at things that are not working and making them better. Now.
Basic
It
attacks.
hasn't felt like that in the last 2 weeks,
Right.
right? When I came here today, I was thinking about. I don't have a shirt like this, but I thought about like getting a shirt and then writing. It's time for the buffs on it.
Ooh.
We can make you one.
I didn't
Joe.
do that, but it is.
If
It
we
is
have a
time for
buff
the
shirt, it
buffs.
has to be Adam.
Yeah.
You're never invited to one of these.
But seriously, I think we have some things we want to
Yes.
go over here.
We do.
That the community has called out.
Yes.
Through various formats,
Yes.
through videos and posts.
Videos
Yes.
on our forums, which we really appreciate. Anyone who posts on our forums, we are completely scouring our forums for feedback and so forth. Posts on social media.
They have definitely seen my video today.
We're having in videos, some
Yesterday, I mean.
that are actually creating like videos that are
Totally.
about specific topics. So we kind of compiled a good list of like hot topics that I think that the community has been wanting to hear more about, and we do want to go through those and actually talk about them a little bit more in detail. I think probably the biggest one I think that people have been talking about the most has been around dungeons. As you guys know, like we've had a few hot fixes, and by a few
monster density.
Yep. Totally understand. Yep. Of hot fixes where we do where we had a line where we did mention that we were reducing like elite pack levels and so forth, or adjusting them specifically in certain
boring
with the goal to be longer dungeons having more elite packs, and of course shorter ones having less than what a longer one would specifically have. But I would say like we've really gotten to kind of like a new baseline now of like where we are.
It seemed like it was a contrast thing, like and Joe can speak to, but like I think the expectation was, oh, nightmare dungeons are the end game. That's the place I'm going to go, quote unquote farm. But right now the normal dungeons, because the elite density is so high, it's better to farm a normal dungeon than it is a nightmare. And so they seemed like they were kind of slightly.
This wasn't about nightmare and normal dungeons. This was about people leveling too fast.
I've seen it many times.
Yeah.
The heck?
Is that accurate, or how do you feel?
Yeah, we had
Not really, because the nightmare dungeons are the only place where you can upgrade your glyphs.
Some side dungeons had dramatically more elites than other side dungeons, and so it really
It's like,
felt like thinking about efficiency, it only made sense to farm those.
Right.
But more broadly, I mean, you were talking about nightmare dungeons. Nightmare dungeons have, first off, actually, the significant majority of our players haven't finished the campaign yet. So there are lots of players that are still playing through the campaign.
Right.
But
Makes sense.
many of the people who are watching this stream, in fact, and our dedicated players play through content much more quickly.
Right.
And have been experiencing this situation with the dungeons, right? So going to Nightmare Dungeons. Nightmare Dungeons are explicitly set up to be highly replayable, right? Through the sigil affixes, through the variety of Nightmare Dungeons that are available, to the changes to monsters that occur inside them. And so we want them to be a great place to farm, including if you want to farm dungeons over and over. If you want to loop dungeons, Nightmare Dungeons are set up to be good at doing that.
That's the intention.
Yeah. So what we're going to do there is we're going to increase the amount of XP that you get from Nightmare Dungeons. Our goal with this
Also for the
is
glyphs.
to make Nightmare Dungeons more efficient to do than side dungeons.
Right.
Because they're designed to be more replayable.
And does that take into account, like, Nightmare Dungeons have essentially a travel time to get to them?
Right. So this is a great point. So in order to, when you think about efficiency, if you think about XP per hour or XP per minute,
Right.
and we actually have telemetry on this so we can see what it looks like. You can't just
Yeah, but the most, like, when,
XP,
if you have missed this,
that you're getting
so
from the
people
Nightmare
basically
Dungeon,
found a
because
way
you have to spend some of the time traveling to that Nightmare
to
Dungeon.
level
That
from
Nightmare
1 to
Dungeons
50 in
are
under
a
an
variety
hour
of distances away from
through certain dungeons.
or teleport.
And that was the whole discussion about. It wasn't really about, oh yeah, let us easily level from
So that can
50
also
to
have an
100.
impact if you're thinking about the efficiency
Right.
aspect of it, of XP per hour or loot per hour,
It's kind of weird that they're making it about end game.
making it hard to justify choosing a Nightmare Dungeon.
I'm not saying that I'm super happy with the Nightmare Dungeons. Improvements to the Nightmare Dungeons are totally welcome.
Modify the way that sigils work so that they
Oh.
teleport you to Nightmare Dungeons on use.
So they
Oh.
or do they create a place to, a waypoint to the dungeon?
They will create a waypoint that allows you to teleport. But yes, you'll be able to teleport to. That's an
Oh, that's
important
cool.
distinction.
Okay, that's neat.
But the effect is that you'll be able to teleport to your Nightmare Dungeons. And you'll
That's
be able
great.
to loop from the end of a Nightmare Dungeon into your next Nightmare
That cuts like a minute.
If you want to loop them
Right.
again.
Maybe
you
2
have to
minutes.
use the Nightmare Dungeon using an interface, but
I'm
you'll
not
be
that
able to go from
efficient.
Nightmare Dungeon to Nightmare Dungeon without
Like I
that.
know that people are looking out for like,
And that
oh,
allows
I was 30 seconds faster in this dungeon than the other. This is so much more
calculate the
efficient.
XP buff to make sure that those are the most efficient to do because we're
Right.
removing the travel
Like I'm not playing that efficiently.
We're improving the rewards from Nightmare Dungeons to make
But
them more
it's nice to have.
what the intention was. That's the place you farm.
Yeah.
We're removing the need to have a travel time because a waypoint will appear and you and your party can go there, so it shortens it.
Right.
Oh,
The
boy.
waypoint one in particular sounds like
If I'm gone, chat,
change. So from a player perspective,
something
what should
thunderstorm.
expectations be about? Hey, that sounds awesome, or at least for me, I'm responding. That sounds awesome. I don't know if they agree yet, but I think that sounds awesome. So what kind of timing? What range of timing are you thinking?
It is. It is. You know, Tiffany was just talking about like the kinds of things that we can do very quickly and easily.
This isn't supposed to be one of
It's
them.
a little, but this is something that's really important to many of our most dedicated players, and so we're working very hard on this right now, actually, and yesterday as well, to get it in before season 1 launches.
Oh,
Wow.
amazing.
Okay, so
Yeah, so I know,
can take up a month.
Tiffany and the live ops team I know have been working really tough, are working a lot to make sure that we can get specific updates before season 1 and scheduling those out and everything. So yeah, the Nightmare Dungeon changes that Joe was just talking about. Goal is to have that out before season 1, so players can actually experience it and use sigils to really teleport to Nightmare Dungeons and use that as a way of kind of incentivizing.
Okay,
And with
that's
Nightmare
a
Dungeons,
neat
it's
change.
and it should be a new the way that players end up needing to want to kind of grind or farm specifically.
Neat,
They have the Nightmare
but
Dungeons.
not super important.
So, and then for people who are maybe not following along all the time, right now season 1, we're saying mid to late July.
Mid to late July.
So we're saying that this change could happen anytime between, in the next 4 weeks or whatever.
Correct.
So that's what we're focused on. But again, I think the waypoint teleportation, we have to get that right. Like there's a lot that goes on there. So there's a bunch of curated.
I mean, I get it, right? You don't want to teleport the people in the middle of the ocean, losing the hardcore characters through a bug, or being stuck in a wall or something like that. You don't want to have that to happen, right? I get that.
Yellow mold is trying to set, and if you keep poking it, it won't ever stabilize. It won't ever set, and that's kind of the thing we worry about here. Is that with all that, what are we at? Hotfix 9 we've put out so far.
We're actually at 11.
We are at 11.
I missed one. And with also our client patches, like we're constantly sort of poking, and if you do that without proper QA and proper testing to make sure you're not shaking something out of alignment, because I think we've had that where we've maybe rushed a patch and then that caused something else to slightly not go the way we want. So that's something we want to be as responsive as possible, but we want to be as safe as possible and make sure we're not.
I get flashbacks to World of Warcraft back in the
Shout
day.
out to Hotfix 11 for fixing some of the things that we
may have broken the previous.
Too much
Teleport should take
PTSD,
you
man.
to the dungeon and
Too
not
much
under the
PTSD.
world or
I don't want to talk about it.
Press Lilith.
Major shout out to our QA team because we have put out, I think it just said 11 hotfixes and I want to say 8 or 9 client patches. So definite kudos to them.
Yes.
Speaking of season 1, I am looking forward to it. I'm a Necro player as well, I believe Rod is, so definitely looking through that chonky patch to make sure that my class gets buffed, as
Stop.
Joe said.
Hitting your
But,
microphone.
I've been collecting
Now, you
renown.
just promised. Do you realize what you just did?
Yes.
Oh, I'm hitting back. And chat will
now
not like
Joe has
that,
to do
but
it.
I'm starting to hit back my
Yes, it is
microphone.
how it
Oh,
works.
okay, great.
I didn't tell him that, but now he knows. I'm looking forward to season 1. I am curious because I think a lot of the community is curious, will I have to recollect all those altars of Lilith? Do I get to carry over those primary stat bonuses that I'm earning? What about my map? Don't really want to have to rediscover it. So Rod, what's season 1 going to look like for me when I roll a rogue?
Ooh.
Roll a rogue. Well, I mean, one
Roll a rogue. Wait, you were playing a class we will delete?
is the Blighted
I don't
Rogue,
understand.
right,
Yes.
which is the. I think
I
Josh
know
calls
that's
them.
one of the cool
I'm joking.
things.
Well, no, it is a cool thing. I think Josh calls them corpse farts, but like he's like, I'm trying to get
All
through
right.
this with corpse farts. It's not my favorite term, but anyway, but we know that the opaqueness of that effect is sometimes can be an explosion waiting for you underneath there, and you can die.
It is a bug, yes.
Yeah.
That is one of the things
See how
we are
it-
fixing.
I'm just like judoed that question.
Yes, you
back
totally
to
did.
it.
And I actually care a lot about this because I use Blighted Corpse on my Necro. That is included in one of our upcoming patches. It
Good.
is a bug. I know there was some discussion.
I play with a buddy of mine right now who is doing exactly that.
We'll be fixing it and making it a
And
little bit
we are
easier in
both
general
sometimes just in
to
those
be able to
fights,
see which of
not
the
seeing
dangerous effects on the
things.
ground,
And
which
I'm
is
very,
always readable to the
very
player.
unhappy
Making
with
sure
him,
the
and he
correct,
hates himself a lot
which is,
for it.
Fire Enchanted, which is it's the affix that always gets me, that I can definitely see it, because right now with all the corpse farts on the ground,
See how easy it is to just say it?
now that is canon. I can.
It
It's
is.
very difficult for me to see a lot
Yeah.
of the affixes or some of the enemy or PvP fire on the ground. So looking forward to those changes. But
Yes.
going back to
Back
season
to
one.
Renown. Yeah, I think the big thing that we're seeing, one of the big questions, I think, especially new players, if you've played Diablo 3 before, you're familiar with the seasonal kind of reset. That idea of like, oh, it's a new season, there may be new battles.
Yeah, but it was also very different in
Reset for it and all
D3.
sorts of things. There's an interesting, like, oh, I want to go back and
It was
experience
less
whatever
impactful.
new changes are in the season or new mechanics, and that's still true in Diablo 4. That idea that there's that sense of progression and going back and trying something new, experiencing the new mechanics in the world from a new place, where because otherwise it becomes this huge sort of power creep. But obviously, part of the feedback is people now are starting to complete the campaign, and they're starting to look forward to season 1 coming mid to late July.
I'm
They're
still
wondering,
not
like,
sure about it, though.
Resets. How do I think about the Renown system in particular? And so one of the things, what will happen is that I think we started off in one place and we're kind of ending up in another place, which is kind of interesting. Is we started off from hey, we want as much of that feeling of progression as possible. So rediscovering things isn't that bad, because you're like, oh, I get to do this really cool. But I think we're starting to feel with alt characters that notion of, oh, the fog of war between characters doesn't feel great. And like
I have that
the
feeling right now.
alters doesn't
It's kind of funny.
really feel great, and so that's something we're going to do, and we'll be continuing to evaluate what to.
So they didn't make a
should-
final
should
decision
be
yet.
Set as part of that, much like once you complete the campaign on one character on your account, you can skip campaign from every character from there on through every season, and I think basically
That's the important part for me.
leave expansions too, not to lock stuff in too early. But that notion that you only have to complete, that's kind of the thinking we have. So right now for Renown, what we're talking about is as we go into season 1, when the amount of the fog of war that you've lifted on your map, the amount of the map that you've exposed going into the season in the Eternal Realm will be what you see in the season. So you don't have to go and
good.
reveal the map again.
Good.
Only capital city waypoints, I think, will be active, much like it is now. So, but you'll see
That's
that
fine.
it'll just be gray. So because there's so much renown you get for claiming one, we still want you to go claim that waypoint.
That's fine.
And then there's also the Altars of Lilith, which is basically, those will stay as well. You don't have to rediscover them every season. And that's always been true, the notion around...
I'm still not sure how I feel about season.
Altar of Lilith, like +2 intelligence or +2 dex. Those stay with you for...
If I want to play a
much like
season.
Renown.
Like, there must be something really interesting in a season, in my opinion, to get me off
Those stay with you.
starting from zero again with everything.
You go get those potion charges. Those go with you. And what's kind of cool is that what we're talking about is we'll preload you that renown. So, right, so if I could get, I'll make up a number, this is totally made up, 1,000 renown through Fog of War clearance, when I start up season 1, my map will be clear like it is in the Eternal Realm, and I'll already have 1,000 renown in my...
I would like to have
Renown-
just the
Renown
renown system
free.
once.
Right.
Will still show, fog, this many areas of the map to be discovered.
Right.
It will just give you credit for the ones that you already discovered. And that will translate into starting the season if you have been playing previously on a character with some amount of renown.
Right. Got it. And our intention, so those are the two major...
Because it takes a little bit to
you
get,
credit.
like,
we're gonna
all the
offer some
renowns
fog.
full, right?
So
Like, it's
side
not a thing you are doing in the evening
but we're looking into
to get your renown
something
rewards.
else we could potentially-
Potentially, I mean, it's something that I think we'll continue to evaluate. Like,
Okay, we will
some
see
things
all
are
that.
fun to be
They're
able
still
to
not
do and some things
sure.
are,
Okay,
after you do them a few
I get
times,
it.
You feel like, why do I have to do this again? And I mean, I
Yeah.
think that's something that it's pretty clear on exploring the map and the Altars of Lilith.
Yeah.
I think it's less clear on some of those other things.
I mean, why is the altar of Lilith
on a new character? I kind of use the side quest to kind of create my own campaign.
something where they say, I don't want that, right? I want that people can just have that throughout the seasons. But going through this very lengthy renown process again is not.
The altars of Lilith, like obviously.
It's kind of weird. I see both being basically the same thing in the end, where you have to put a lot of time into, which is not necessarily too interesting to do.
It will be showcased. The ones that you've actually visited already will now showcase on your map already. So it ends up at least covering off of that, of course. And then, as Rod mentioned, the Fog of War items will be kind of carried over, or not carried over, but removed.
We will see.
From as you kind of create new characters.
It seems like they're really curious into adapting
when were we like kind of looking
to the situation at hand, which I see something as very positive.
Here is that that change will also affect alts after it goes in.
Oh, nice.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So alts after season 1 will have the same benefit.
Yeah.
Nice. Very cool. Well, I know I'm like slowly getting through my list here. Pull out the cookies.
What I want, to say, you want some energy cookies, you want some s'mores? Like, I think one of the things that I'm especially encountering too is like in the dungeons, when you're going through and clearing dungeons, like probably at least the bottom row of my inventory tends to be the gems I've collected along the way.
Yes, please.
That creates some tension, in terms of when to go back and those sorts of things. So I know they're like the quick answer is always like, I want a gem tab, or like, how do I put a different place to put those? But it sounds like we're doing something, we're thinking about it differently.
Yeah, we're looking at inventory tension, essentially, like things that fill up your. It's a design. Yeah,
Nice.
it's a design term. Anyway, it's basically stuff that clutters up your inventory.
Sure.
And
So yellow items?
awesome stuff that we built and has all kinds of interesting gameplay, but has the effect of taking up lots of space.
Sure.
Like gems.
And now you can buy an extra item slot for just $5 per slot to increase your inventory.
We're establishing the baseline expectations.
Oh, no, okay. Yeah,
I think we should just go low.
Yeah, we can
While
only
we're
go
not
so
answering the
low.
question, and I still haven't got these cookies open, so I'm making noise
so
while you're thinking.
When we think about gems, there are many colors of gems, there are many qualities of gems, and this can have the effect of taking up lots of inventory space. So what we're looking to do, and this is a longer,
It's a cookie transaction
we talk
here.
about fixes that have different time horizons. This is a longer term one.
Where's my cookie? Goddamn.
Get it
Rob.
around season 2.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
The idea is to
wow.
change the way you acquire gems so that they are show up in your materials or currency.
Season 2.
Oh, like
So that's
like
in
field crystals. So rather than it even being a thing that you collect in an inventory, it's now
October?
materials.
Right, and then the way that will work is you go to the
Shoot,
to
man.
craft your gem in the same way that you do today, and you just use a certain amount of that material. So, it's similar to the amount of equivalent like actual gem or slots that you have now.
They probably saw the system
And you can use that to
in last
Kind of a
epoch,
win-win because it's
and they
saving
were
inventory
like,
space, but it's also
hey, this is really smart what they are doing. Why are we not using this more?
But now if it's just materials I'm carrying, but like something I've been there's been discussion around while we're on materials.
I mean, they're technically already doing it with materials,
I
right?
didn't understand there was caps. Like I am not.
Wait, there is a
hardcore
cap on
on
materials?
veiled crystals, but I know some people out there are, and they're realizing like, oh, you can only carry 10,000, and there isn't a way to put veiled crystals into the stash or whatever to do with it. Like, is there what is
What?
the thinking around caps? Because sometimes it's like, oh, we were trying to force you to go do an action.
Why is there
It's
a
like the
cap?
thing now, like, oh, you go roll something because your more opals are falling, but. I don't think that it doesn't feel like that's the same for veiled crystal. As an example, veiled crystal, like how do you think about caps and materials?
Yeah, the caps, the materials aren't there's no particular reason to cap the veil crystals at 10,000.
Okay, why?
We're just gonna make that bigger.
Yeah. So
Okay.
We're upping the material caps for that, which we've seen a lot of players, especially players that are like level 90 plus. As you're going through dungeons, you're obviously gonna naturally just pick up a lot of gear. And
Yeah, like again, why is there a cap in the first place?
A lot of those.
I didn't even know that. Wow.
Players who put in a decent amount of hours on those characters, or even if they're already at max level at 100, and
Oh, that's good.
still farming gear or looking for gear on those characters.
And the time horizon on the cap, lifting of the caps?
I think we have that in.
That's actually
that's coming before
season
right?
one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that one we will be changing before season
That's
one,
right.
Cool.
and it'll be incorporated in some
Chance for me not running into the cap
Future
then.
planned
future
update
planned update.
before
Because
season
you
one.
love them. You just love rolling those out.
Just like sweating. I know this has actually been an interesting conversation also that I did want to bring up is we've had a lot of people, especially like content creators and others that have kind of been a little confused on how things like resistances actually currently work within the game. I think there's a lot of people that are actually prioritizing other benefits on gear or
Armor.
stats right now over resistance.
You want resistances, you get armor.
They're a little confused
Question
on how it
answered.
works, or they feel that it may not be working at all.
You need a resistance, you get armor.
Would rather use my emerald for thorns than like whatever the reduction,
Yeah.
like plus 14% resistance, whatever. Like I know my instincts are to go to the more tangible thing initially. And I guess sometimes
No, you go for armor. If you want resistance, get more armor.
one-to-one, like, hey, I know exactly how this is affecting my play, like, is that
Yeah, the resistance case is one where the system has a lot of different inputs, and there are some of those have multiplicative scaling, and we have sort of some things we want to accomplish with that system too. We want to encourage players to get more resistances as they go up higher in world tiers, which is why there's an effect on your resistances as you go up in world tiers.
Oh, that might be clear to some people. It was like that. So basically, as you move up in world tier, your current
It might not be clear to people, so that means
Right.
they have
So
not
that you have to
read
really
what the
acquire
word
the
tier does.
And
I mean, it's
what
in
we're
the
seeing
world
right
tier.
now is that because of the way all of these, there's also an effect where your armor provides physical resistance and also provides half that amount of elemental resistances. And
Exactly.
because all of these
And that's
things
why
can
you were
interact
going
in a
armor, because
complex
it's too
way,
good.
It can be hard for people to figure out exactly how they work.
Right.
But regardless of that, the way that it is working in practice is meaning that resistances are less valuable than we would like them to be.
Yes.
And because it's a fairly complex interaction, this is something that's going to take a little bit more time to
Okay.
dial in the right.
Please don't not just
Right.
nerf
But
the
it's still
armor
valuable.
values you
It's still
get.
valuable in the short term.
Please.
Like not worth it at all.
Yeah,
Like,
what
it's
happens is as you get up into higher amounts of resistance and higher world tiers, we're seeing the value drop off more than we intend for
Got
it.
it.
And so that's where we're going to
Mm.
see some changes.
Interesting. Okay.
So because we need to go slow on that kind of a complex change, what are you thinking? Time horizon?
That should be good
That's
for,
gonna be
especially
something
for
we should
like melee fighters
I
and
think
builds
it's
where you
also
stay a
managing
little bit
expectations.
longer in
The reason
melee
why you
combat
hear things
without
like,
getting
hey, we found
roasted.
something, or we're hearing something, and we're talking already about season 2, which again, we're talking about quarterly seasons, so that's going to be in the fall. Like, why wouldn't you get into season 1? I don't understand. Well, we're like pretty much finishing up season 1 right now. In order to be able to put it through certification, the way that we do our release candidate testing,
Makes sense.
we need to be ahead of the game, and the fact that we're only, let's say it's mid to late July, and we're already sort of mid-June, so we're like 4 weeks away. It can take a couple weeks to get through CERT and everything else, so you kind of have to be out in front of this stuff, and so that's what I was trying to set in one of the official dev streams and managing expectations.
That's the problem.
It's not a
We
hot
basically
fix
now
or
have-
something we can't even hotfix because it's not just like changing a variable on a server. It's something that's a complex system that requires.
Like back in the day where games
may come a little bit
were
later
all
than
disconnected.
because
PC
the
players were
fact that
playing
so ahead of
with
the
PC
game.
players, PlayStation with PlayStation, Xbox with Xbox.
So
you didn't need that, right? We still have that nowadays, that sometimes we are getting a patch on the PC 2-3 weeks before the console players are getting it, or they're waiting for multiple patches on the console. It's just how it works now.
Yeah, and we,
You like it or you hate it.
A lot of people are going,
Or you don't care.
I'm seeing chat now going like, why not season 1? Why not season 1? And it's the perfect explanation for it, because in the end of the day, it's you have to button something up to get it ready for people to actually play it, and we obviously have to do a lot of testing.
Yeah, again, they don't have the luxury anymore, because now they have to send it out for consoles to be tested, yada yada. It takes a while for consoles. They cannot just say, okay, we are opening up season 1 again and make some changes. That was possible back in the day where people were all playing in their own ecosystem, but now that we are all playing together and consoles demand certification and all that,
we want to make sure
you
that
cannot do
every
it anymore.
season is delivering new content, and then on top of that,
It's
bring
just
in,
what it is.
important fixes, bring in some quality of life improvements. And so, you know, I know that I've seen some lists, like people have helpfully made like some lists, like here are a bunch of quality of life fixes that we would like, or that would help me, you know, as a player. So I think what you'll see is that over time, as seasons roll out, you're going to see those, like we've been talking about with season 1 and season 2. You're going to continue to see those things. You're not going to see a season that's like, sorry, we didn't
Bare
make any
bones,
content, but here's a bunch of fixes.
Yeah, and
because we think the content is really important.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Is like Diablo 4 just launched. And we have a lot of stuff planned for the game.
Yeah, and I've had some comments on Twitter where people are like, well, D3 has this thing and D4 doesn't have this thing. And I'm like, well, D3 has been out there for 10 years, iterating and improving, and like D4 has been out there for 10 days. And so like that doesn't mean it's not going to show up. It doesn't mean the iteration and evolution of these things aren't going to continue. Like we're going to keep evolving the game, you know,
I don't.
fast as we can, and as safely as we can through seasons.
I'm
and
trying to think about like a
expansion. So
gameplay module
something not there today doesn't mean
which
there's no
isn't D3, but it's not in
Definitely evaluate the
D4,
level of effort
and
and
I
the
am
risk of
missing
all
it
of the changes,
greatly.
And that's kind of how we determine, is this hot fixable? Like, is this something that needs to be fixed and addressed on the live environment?
Some
right
people say
now?
item crafting.
Something that would be better to wait until our next
I mean,
planned release vehicle, whether that's season
Was
1 or
item
season 2,
crafting
where you
really
have to be
that
much
great in
more
D3?
And we want to just, like Joe was saying, it's super important that we
Especially
deliver
later
quality
on.
seasons with tons of great content to our players. So
Oof.
it's also super important that we don't rush something out and break the game where it becomes not playable, not viable,
Debatable?
not so fun anymore. So definitely taking all the feedback. We have a very, very long list of things that we want to get to. And
Like something
Roger saying,
else?
You know, I worked on D3 for many years, and we improved it over time. And I'm actually looking forward to the point where we can start putting in a lot of those improvements that people are asking for to get it to a super
I'm not having everything in mind,
that
which immediately says, "Oh man, why do we not have that in
I
D4?"
know, one thing that has been kind of a hot topic within the community, because a lot of players are playing hardcore, and we have seen some, whether it could be a disconnect or a player might be dying, you know, randomly on their own accord, or you know, maybe they have a service issue or something from their
Like
side.
today,
I
the
know that
dude
there's,
with
like,
the
a lot of
152
questions related to
hours.
disconnection, death protection, and so forth.
Yeah.
It's a thing that we've been looking at. We've been looking at everyone's clips, even the painful ones where we're like, oh no, that's awful and so forth. But I know we've been looking at potentially doing some work on that from that end.
Yeah, so there are a few cases here. There are, we've seen some cases where a hardcore hero died during teleport, which is a bug. We've seen potentially some bugs with situations where you should be immune, but you might have died. We're investigating both of those cases. And once we...
I mean, I noticed that I had like some weird bugs, not hardcore related or anything they are talking about, but
You also mentioned...
clearly my druid is sometimes not using their abilities.
Right? these can be some of the most frustrating situations for hardcore.
And I don't
players
know
because,
why that happens.
In many cases, it's
I
completely
have to
outside
hammer an
control.
ability that it triggers.
An issue with
And it's only with the druid.
anywhere between you and the server, right?
Yeah.
So those can be especially frustrating. And we have already a mechanism in the game that allows players to escape from boss fights that has very strict controls on it in terms of being a consumable item that's a fairly rare drop, which is called the Scroll of Escape. This is a hardcore only item. It's a consumable scroll. You can use it at any time and teleport to safety. You can bind it to your mouse wheel. It's important to bind it to the...
It's very important to bind it. I do recommend binding it so that...
Yeah, it's apparently not bind it from the get-go.
Potentially use like an emote.
Instead of your...
Instead of...
I mean, you go out with style. I mean, like,
Yes.
you're going out emoting while you're being killed.
So we have this mechanism already to allow players to try out something that's extremely difficult in hardcore, and that allows us to have things in hardcore that are very challenging.
Right.
But those scrolls are also relatively rare, from what I heard, right? I'm not playing hardcore, so
hundreds of hours.
I do not
Why
know.
would I go
It's a
into
question to
something where I
chat.
might die?
Yeah.
There's certainly lots of risk there, and it's very exciting.
Right.
But I mean, I could just get a little stronger first,
Sure.
right? So we think that this scroll allows for even more exciting moments.
Scroll of nope. You're like, nope.
And this is the place where, because it has these controls in terms of being consumable and being a rare drop,
Right.
this is the place where we want to add disconnect protection. So basically, the way that this will work is if you're
Not really rare?
disconnected,
Okay.
and this
Not really rare.
essentially for
Okay,
any reason.
thank you.
And,
So
and
like,
I
even
want
if
to
Okay.
like, your cat pulls...
I thought it was pretty rare.
now I want to clarify that
Because the dog would never...
Maybe that was in the beta or something, and maybe they
disconnect case
changed
is
it.
a,
It has been a while
and
since
it's a
somebody
very
told me about
complex
it, so
situation in terms of determining
yeah.
what's happening.
Okay, no problem.
So this is not
Fair enough.
perfect
Thank you.
situation.
Okay.
It's
Lightning
appreciated.
strike on the
Not gonna
telephone pole
guarantee
may not trigger...
one-
Thank you for
100%.
helping a
What
non-hardcore
should
player
happen
out.
is that when we detect that you've disconnected, if you have one of these scrolls of escape in your inventory, it will trigger, even
Oh.
though you weren't there to trigger it. It will consume the scroll, so you
Interesting.
can't just do this as much.
The question
as
is,
you want.
when does it
And it will
recognize that you
teleport
disconnect?
Right. So when you log back in after the lightning has subsided, you should be in town.
Should be, yeah, should
Just
be.
have scrolls. Because they are a limited resource, like obviously. Like
Well, part of it, you have to stop abuse, right? You don't want
Exactly.
people like using disconnects
Yeah.
as ways to do things. It's the same thing, I think, when we were talking about the sigil change, is that one of the concerns, if we didn't put the right rules around it, is that if a sigil automatically teleported me somewhere, I could use that to escape hard content, you
Sure.
know? And so that we always have to, that's part of it. It's not everything is intuitively like, oh, I instantly get it, go do that. You have to go like, wait, there's a bunch of edge cases and things that this can be abused, and we have to manage that too. So.
What?
So I'm
Players
window on that, Joe.
Abusing
goal.
gameplay mechanics
Yeah, Rod, like, when are you
in
getting
a
that done?
Blizzard game?
I think this is a selfish
That is
question.
also a season 2.
No.
Disconnect protection.
Yeah.
Some of the bugs that
Can't imagine
I mentioned
that.
earlier in terms of cases where
They're all a
immunity,
bunch of nice guys.
there could be a problem with
Yeah.
immunity or a teleport, a death during loading screen or something. Those are things that we're investigating right now. And
Could be
so
hotfix, but
it could be sooner than that.
Yeah, those could be sooner, and then the scroll of escape with disconnection protection could end up being season 2. So,
Season 2 again.
all right, I know I got a few more. Sorry, I know I want to make sure we hit on all these topics. This is obviously really
That's
important
6
to me,
months.
that they want to hear about them and so forth. But
Why are my caches higher level than me?
yes, that is a very popular one. Why are my caches higher level than me? I can't open my
can't even
cache.
open the
I
cache.
killed
I
the
wanna know
world
what's in the
boss,
cache.
but I can't open the cache.
What's in the cache, Joe?
This
What?
is a bug. So in a before season 1,
Yeah, I never had that happen.
an upcoming
A
fix.
planned patch.
Yes, that's right.
In the plan patch?
Plan patch.
You will be able to
in the
open
13 pager? Is that what we're doing?
in a planned patch. You will be able to open caches from world bosses. Now, the gear that's in those caches may still be higher level,
At least
but
you
there's
can sell it or
and there's a variety of things you can salvage.
I never had that
if
happen.
caches isn't gear, you'll be able to use that.
I never had that. I think I
And see what's inside. And it gives you something to work toward. You're like, oh, this thing that's amazing.
in
so
the
you'll
beta
start
or
to
something.
Get up to that level and use that gear, right? Nice.
But
I know.
beyond that, nah.
So scaling is a huge topic. I'm just diving right
Is
in.
it maybe too huge? Is that where you're going? What are we doing?
Well, scaling is a big topic. I think
Phrasing?
players have talked a lot about like, hey, the world scaling with
Right.
you and the sense of power that you have. I think one thing that we actually talked about earlier, I think addresses some of the scaling questions we have, which was like nightmare dungeons are that way of also feeling more powerful as you're kind of progressing through them. Because
Oh, here we
nightmare
go.
dungeons, and you'll be able to slowly but surely, get your way through.
I'm curious.
higher-
Like I said,
higher
they
level
will
versions of them.
buff
The other thing, though, I think, and I've seen this a lot.
Word
personally
tier
myself,
2.
Where people have been going like, hey, I might be like a level 25 druid, but level 18 gear is dropping, and
Oh, right.
there's a lot of like attachment to item level or to the actual level required.
Focus on the wrong number?
Yeah,
Yep.
as opposed to the item power, and I think it's a topic I wanted to bring up just because item power is actually really the number that people should be really focusing on
Meh.
to specifically item level, because
Debatable.
there are points where you will actually
Very
potentially
debatable.
find a higher item level requirement.
It's a lower level.
Depends on what we are talking about. If we are talking about
And
endgame,
that's one thing I
for
think
me it's
that,
important that it has the
helps
stats I
with people
need
when they're focusing
instead of
on
just a higher
becoming
item
more
level.
powerful, is
While
really
the leveling
more item
phase,
power, focusing on that
yeah,
specific
generally
item,
speaking, higher
itself,
item level is good.
Because I know a lot of people have been discussing it online and everything.
And that's why I guess when you upgrade at the vendor, like the item power is what's getting upgraded.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of nice sometimes that you can get a slightly higher item power on a slightly lower level item, because it gives that lower level character a bit of a bump and those sorts of things.
Yeah, the item, the required level for an item does loosely correlate with the power of the item in most cases, but there are many situations where that is not accurate.
Right.
And so it's better to look, as Adam was saying, at
Yep.
the item power of an item.
I mean, Adam brought up Druid. So one of the things I know I hear quite a bit about is there's a thing where you get into uniques and discussions that like barb uniques are falling for druids, and so what's the issue there?
Yeah, there are a couple bugs where certain barb uniques can drop for druids that we're fixing, and that's going to come in before.
Okay.
Go in here.
I did not have that happen yet.
It's going to come
Huh.
in before season 1
Okay.
in a planned patch.
So within the next 4 weeks.
But when
Ish.
I'm playing a class, Joe, can I expect to occasionally see uniques or legendaries drop for other classes?
Yeah, you will. That's a really good point. It's these changes are not.
I never had that
you
happen
never,
yet.
Ever see anything for another class?
Right.
It's that there are some specific barb uniques that were meant to drop only for barb, but due to a bug are also dropping for druid, and we're correcting those.
Got it.
Hmm.
Awesome.
I thought they were talking a little bit
I
about the
know we
word here.
just mentioned this, but in a future update, don't hate me, Ted. A future hotfix is we'll say for right now. A future hotfix is when we
Weird.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's right.
social features, looking for group.
Yeah, I thought they were talking about word tier. They were opening up word tier, and now they're like,
some people who maybe, like,
maybe tomorrow.
a clan or something like that, or choose not to actually join a clan, or maybe some of their friends or their normal friends are usually logged
oh
on.
yeah, all the funny clan
Trying to
names
find
I've
other
already
people to maybe,
seen.
like, join in with you during dungeons and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Can be a little bit of a challenge. We've been hearing a lot of feedback on that. I know that the team obviously is looking into future social features for the game itself. We just need more iteration time, more time to actually think about how we want that to actually be available.
Like the
accessible
KYS
for
clan.
players to be
Funny.
able to jump into some dungeons with maybe randos or something like that if they want to, if they're looking for it. I know it's a topic that a lot of people have been talking about, but we are looking into it in terms of items.
I think crossplay adds complexity too. Like that's
Yes.
why, again, it's one of those things where you want to make the right choices and take the time to do it right. And it did feel like as a social features, it felt like it's one of those great places to evolve and iterate into. So I think that's a large bucket of features that I could see as we continue to improve.
Not really interested in the social features.
That like social features are just going to get better and better and better over time.
Yeah. And the other big thing, and I know that some PC players have experienced, have been a little bit of some like performance and like stability items. It's a team that we have like this graphics engineering team that has been like hardcore. Like
Yeah, I have no, like the problem is that they sometimes not load the textures fully, and it looks absolutely ass, even on high settings.
Fixes and some items that we're addressing here.
And it's like,
some upcoming,
I'm pretty
client
sure
patches,
that's
that'll be
not
shipped
how
to
it should look
players,
like.
so it should help out with a lot of those specific.
And my GPU should be absolutely capable of loading those textures.
And again, if you guys actually.
And again, when I'm switching it to Ultra, I don't have any problems.
Feel free to post those in our forums. That we scour those, all throughout the day. It's customer service, it's QA, it's community, and we're actually providing all this information
But
over to those teams.
It's kind of crazy how I sometimes have textures completely getting obliterated on high, and on Ultra they're looking
Performing very well while I'm playing
crisp.
Diablo 4. If you can give us, extra
It's like,
information,
that's
computer specs,
pretty
et
sure
cetera,
that's not how it should
where
work.
it may have occurred and details and so forth. It
The
helps
DX
us a lot.
diag on the forums is really helpful.
Yes.
Because a lot of times, sometimes there's expectations around how much memory do I actually need, how much VRAM do I actually need, and sometimes actually because of the way we do seamless server transitions, sometimes if there's if we're doing some maintenance or there's something going on, you could see what you're called rubber banding could actually be just a slight delay in the server transition and not actually be related to the game's performance. It may actually just be a networking handoff between servers. So there is no one blanket. I think.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people who don't get that. That's interesting. That I have literally seen people talking about this on streams or videos where they were like, "Oh yeah, look at that, man! The graphic performance of my PC is going to shit here again." I'm like, "What are you talking about? You just had some rubber banding, like something server-like was interfering. Something was happening server-wise that has nothing to do with your PC or the performance."
We feel really good about where we are, but
What? But they were talking like the GPU could not handle it, or they had like CPU issues or something like that. It's like, huh?
I know, so yeah, there's a ton of different bug fixes and so forth that are still coming down the line, and we plan on addressing all of those. Again, continue using our forums to actually give us that info. I know we do want to take some questions from chat and so forth.
Oh boy.
From Twitch chat. I will do my best to actually announce.
You mean
names.
like
I will
the-
announce the names so people know that they can go back into chat and see the names.
Oh
Go,
boy,
my
they're
God,
talking
you
about
made-
it.
You made up these names
aren't
and
real
so forth.
names.
And
Oh,
that
boy,
was
oh.
not our interview. So that we did not come up with that question.
Pretty good.
But yeah,
I mean, it was
do-
not Blizzard's
do wanna take
fault.
some questions from chat itself.
So you
As
It
we're
was
kind of
not Blizzard's fault that
I was
happened.
actually kind of disappointed.
well, if you have high expectations.
No,
I
he eats
wasn't a
Outback.
So you're saying you wouldn't want another one?
Outback is so good. Tiff and I have this thing about Outback Steakhouse. It's fantastic. I know, I'm okay.
He needs to read the questions.
Yes, I do need to read the questions. I do plan on going through at least some of the questions and continue asking questions as they're coming in. We actually have the community team is actually going through. Huge shout out to the community team. They're in the chat and they're actually going through and polling questions so that I can see them because chat is moving very fast.
As it does. I mean, look at my YouTube chat. It's literally exploding right now. I can barely keep up with it.
Oh yeah, I need to start with the name. I'm sorry. This is a party play question, and it's from. Oh, gosh, I have to pronounce the names. Necrologics. It says.
That's not so hard. Necrologics.
Well, I'm hoping it sounds.
Why are you
like that.
sounding it out like a 4-year-old? The necrologics. Why is that so hard?
I mean, it's like logics or something. Can we teleport to people without going to town first? Is that going to be an option?
Good question.
So we're carefully looking at the teleporting. We want it to be easy to meet up with friends. The waypoint in town is our normal way to move to places.
There's a good question,
I
yeah.
don't know that everybody knows this, by the way, because I've had to explain it to people. That it's actually, once you
Actually,
know
I had to
it,
explain that to a
you
buddy
know
of mine too.
Optimize it.
They were
But
like,
if you don't know about
how
it,
are you getting to me that fast all the
really cool
time?
that
I'm like,
when you join
there's a
your friend's
portal
game,
in the
you
city,
can jump
like
through
another
your-
one which is only for you.
When you join your friend's game,
And he's
you might
like,
be in a separate place on the map than they
what?
are. If you go to the capital city or any of the capital cities, they will have a portal.
And
to
only
your
capital
to the
city,
side.
very important.
So you were like, oh, I want to join your game. Oh, where are you? Oh, I'm somewhere over here. Just
Only
down to your
capital
D-pad,
city.
Then you're next to a portal that has their name on it. You click on it, and now, or press A, and then you're with them. And so it's always
Small
great.
cities do
Playing with parties, so,
not
like,
count, as we
hey,
had to
just
figure
press
out.
down your D-pad, jump in the portal, and you're with us. And so I get that might not. It's not like a direct, but no, it's like it's a layover. It's a you know, you have one stop on your way to where you're going. Anyway, so I interrupted your answer to give you time to eat your cookie, but are you thinking about optimizing so you can do more direct teleport?
It's something we'll keep an eye on.
Okay.
We aren't planning to change that.
I mean, it's functional, right? It does its
It's what you
job.
were saying earlier.
Yeah, sure, you're sometimes a bit slow. You first have to have a loading screen to the city, then you have another loading screen to your friends. You could
And that will
speed
mean
that up a bit, but all things considered, it does its
We have a
job.
question from Old Greg's Place. I think that's an easy one.
That was you, though.
Yeah. There's an underscore after Greg's, though.
You don't have to
but,
pronounce
yeah,
it.
I
It's
don't
silent.
want to go like place.
Underscore.
Are you guys planning to buff any kind of resource generation, be it from
Ooh, that's a
So
good one.
We have a variety of buffs coming in a future patch to many things
Or you
across
just
many
lit up
classes.
the internet. No, thanks for that. I'm just saying you alluded to buffs, but we're not being specific. So now it's going to be a lot of
I mean,
speculation, which is
That's
great.
true. It's in the top secret document
Yes.
that Adam has.
And that's,
We're
yeah,
talking
a lot of that.
So builds including builds that use that have issues with resource generation should keep an eye out for things that address that. I
Good.
want to be careful here though, because resource generation is one of those stats that can very quickly invalidate resource use entirely.
Okay, yeah.
It's very easy for to end up in a situation where you have resource generation that exceeds any possible resource costs. And while that can be fun in certain situations, like it can be fun to have situations where you feel like you're breaking the game, if it's generally true for everyone, the game ends up being less interesting because you have fewer.
Again,
Yeah,
that's,
trade-offs.
yeah, I get that, but that's not the
There's
point
a
here.
lot of people still mentioning mob density and so forth in chat, and I do want to just at least clarify to them because, like, obviously, you know, we've made tweaks and so forth, and we talked about this earlier, but we made tweaks in terms of like elite mob packs and dungeons and so forth.
I
So we
still,
now have established
regardless
a
of that, I still find that the
baseline,
mob
like,
density is not enough in
Yeah,
Diablo 4.
It's not this like we're going to continue going down or something like that. So
Joe and I had this conversation recently. Just like it's a combination, and you know, correct me if I get this wrong, but it's not just about like, oh, as we think about nightmare dungeons and rewards, it's not always going to be like, oh, this one monster is now worth 1 million experience points. There may be times where you want that to be 5 monsters that are worth 200,000 experience points. Like density is a factor of XP per minute, and as well as the actual value of the individual monsters, and so that'll be something that you all are thinking knobs on.
It's something we're continuing to look at. To clarify, the changes to XP that you'll see before Season 1 will increase the XP that you're getting per monster, per elite monster
Okay.
in Nightmare Dungeons.
Right.
It won't increase the total number of monsters in Nightmare Dungeons. That also could also called the density. But that is something that, as a result of the changes that we had to establish a baseline, we do have the ability to tune in the future.
Right.
Okay.
are you guys planning to continue quarterly update style?
Name? Who's asking?
Oh, sorry. Nukem Games. Are you planning to continue to the quarterly update style for upcoming expansions and systems or such. I personally love the updates. That's something to look forward to for every quarter since BlizzCon 2019. We will still be having a lot of developer update live streams. And those, like for instance, our next one will be about season 1 when you guys do actually.
Surprise!
I'll speak as one person. I kind of like, not necessarily, well, Campfire Chat aside, I kind of like the more active stream to a 9-page blog personally. And so having dev streams where we can show cool features and talk about them and interact a little bit more versus go read this novel. Like, I like them. I love what we did. I love the transparency because we couldn't necessarily do streams before. But if I had to choose between an 8-page blog and a 45
Yeah,
stream,
I'm with him.
but that's just me.
But some people like to read.
Blogs around like seasons and announcements and so forth. That's still a thing. So,
Right, not everyone has the luxury to watch this.
And everything related to that.
They have to watch me
We get an
instead.
expanded option to
It's
change
horrible.
our character's appearance within the game. Guts Claymore asked this question. Thank you, Guts. Will we get more options to change our character's appearance within the game? Don't want to make a new character just to change my character's face, hairstyle, etc.
Wait,
So
you
there
can
are
already do
some
that.
options for re-customizing your character through the wardrobe.
Yeah. What?
You can't change everything about the character there. That's something that we'll continue to look at. ways
Oh,
to-
right. Yeah, you cannot change everything,
You
which
don't
is
expect
also
to
kind of
do,
weird. It's like, wait, they're giving you the opportunity to change your character, but
markings
only
and,
certain things. It's
things
like,
that, and obviously armor and things.
why?
In the shorter term, there'll probably be more. When you do a character create, there'll be more options. Like as we go through, but
Yeah.
the notion of actually like once you've rolled your character and you're level 60, right now because you can't like change, say, your hairstyle. That's probably a later down the road. That's
Yeah.
not. But our biggest thing we want to do is get more hairstyles into character creator.
Yeah.
Before we're actually, there's more higher priority than the ability to change your hair after the fact.
Yeah, but we do. I mean, I can go and get a haircut and have a different hairstyle. I don't have to roll a new me. So I understand. I
mean,
understand
some of
the,
us would like to roll a new me.
the desire. The goal.
Yeah, I would like to put a little bit more into stamina and, you know,
Are we
intelligence.
gonna add a completed side quest tab?
Who's
Who
asking?
was asking?
Oh, sorry, I'm so bad at this. It's because it's
At least we all agree on something.
Wow. It's like in a different font color, and you just like immediately move off from it. And it's a really hard name. Burn 1 N9 M4N. There we go. I'm just gonna read it out like that because I'm not gonna butcher
You
the
put
name.
the forethought to actually look at those leet spellings in case it actually says something you shouldn't say out loud. Have you thought about?
Well, if I just say it by number or whatever, as opposed to
You're
saying
safe,
that,
okay.
then I'm okay. Are you gonna add a completed side quest tab to the journal?
We want to improve the things that the journal or that
Yeah, the journal is a bit
that can be tracked
meek
through the UI over time to allow
right now.
more situations where
I think I've never used it
maybe
for
you see
anything really.
something, in the game and you want to go back and look at it in the future over time.
Especially with the amount of side quests in the game. Yeah, seeing like which side quests you have already
Part of
finished
What's driving that, which I totally get that makes total sense what they're asking.
would probably be a good idea.
You don't need to do all side quests to complete your renown for that area. Like you can do
That's
it through
also
other
true.
things,
Yeah.
right? So, though there's a
True,
completionist
but people
notion of-
just like to do
we have
it.
some surprise side quests that you can't track. So the notion of, oh, I killed a mob, it dropped a thing,
Right.
and there's no way to know that on the map. And right now, there's no way to say, oh, I'm missing that sword falling one, and people could go like, oh, go kill that wolf that drops the sword or whatever. You know, so but if your desire for being a completionist around side quests is for renown, you can actually complete renown without doing all the side quests.
And then, this is kind of a similar question, and I think this kind of falls across like quality of life. This is from Java Jinx. Are there planned quality of life improvements like search functions in the stash or for specific dungeons? I will tell you, like, again, this is another, like, these are features that will obviously be looked at, and, you know, the game is going to improve over time as we go from season to season. Lots of quality of life items will end up kind of appearing. We'll be evaluating them all as they kind of come in. I'm
Okay.
going to take one last question, which is...
And who's it from?
Who's this from? And this one I think is just a clarification from people. This is from Nexian. It says, can you just re-clear something you said earlier so we can keep all skill points, potion charges, max obels, and paragon points from renown for seasons?
Right. That's an important thing to clarify. So,
Yes.
Renown. So things like paragon points at the end of the renown bar.
Yes.
You will start with some renown. You're not going to get those paragon points that require finishing the renown bar.
Yeah, so this is how I understood
Yeah,
it.
so that's my fault because I misunderstood. So it wasn't that they didn't understand. I misexplained it. So currently, like in the Eternal Realm, if I on one character I complete the full renown bar, so I get my obels and I get my paragon points. If I roll an alt, I have those. I have the skill points. I have those potion charge. I have the obels. I have the paragon points. Right now, being that are shared between my characters on my account.
Some elements of the paragon system are shared between characters. Things like the Altars of Lilith also give you stat points.
Right, but I'm just saying that that's how it works today in the Eternal Realm in terms of going between one character to another. The renown unlocks on the bottom level are account-wide, yes?
In seasons, you will the things that are at the end of the renown bar, you will still have to acquire renown to get.
Right, that's why I was just trying to clarify what it is today for alts is different than what it will be in season reset. Right, so today with alts, I clear all on my account, I get it across all my characters. So you're saying when we do a season reset, and if you clear it all on a character, or like when you have a map that's revealed in the Eternal Realm, when I go into the season, the map will be clear.
Right.
I'll have the renown for
I think
that,
they have complicated it even more right now with that explanation. I totally understand what they are getting at. But if somebody was confused after this excursion those two just had, I think the person is just sitting there.
Right,
Yes.
And Mr. Joey P.
Even more confused.
Yeah, you get the renown from the Fog of
Sorry,
War
who's
clear.
Joey P? Is that one of the community members?
Joey P. But yeah.
Question from our own team is associate designer.
He mentions you get the renown from Fog of War clear and the Altars of Discovery, which is what Joe had just mentioned. But then enough to get you through the first 2 tiers of renown in each zone. So
that was my fault. I thought it worked the way it works in the Eternal. Now it doesn't. It's basically we're just preloading you a bunch of renown that will then unlock the stuff for you. I get it. Yeah.
Got a pocket Joey P over there.
I know,
Pocket Joey P.
Pocket Joey P. Well, we well over the time estimate that I thought we were going to have, so I apologize, everyone.
That's your fault.
We're eating into our lunch.
I estimated 2 hours with you folks.
This is our first Campfire Chat. Again, Campfire Chats, really good opportunity for us to actually talk with the community, address specific topics that players have been talking about, and at the same time,
it's great.
Chat.
It's not
The
scripted.
intention is we want to have more ad hoc, informal. We don't want to have to wait till some big thing or whatever. Like, this is a game we're all playing, and
I mean,
talk about
scripted to a certain degree, right? They know which topics they have to talk about. Like, here's the thing: all my videos are non-scripted,
these more often, and
right? All my videos I'm doing are non-scripted. I'm not reading from a script.
Yeah, and obviously we still have the
But
hardcore
I
race going on.
do
We actually posted an
go
update
through the
on
topics in my head and on the list where I want to
As of
go.
yesterday's
What do I
episode,
want to
like
talk
700
about? I
slots.
rehearse things sometimes.
we're actually digging the
Like,
hole for the statue.
just because it's not scripted doesn't mean I do no
pouring
preparations,
the
and it's the
cement
same
thing
here.
that you can go on top of, so.
I love that they are just, it's non-scripted.
Rod's always giving spoilers.
What, that we're putting the statue on campus? How is that a spoiler?
It's just like blocked off. No one can like see it. Even internal people can't see it. You know.
I'm just saying it's kind of cool. I've never had that before in a game where your name, like as the development team is walking to lunch, they can see your name on the statue. I think it's kind of cool, and that reminds us of our community.
Is there some slots open on the statue, interestingly enough?
And people were like, "Oh my God, first time!" Like I get the first thing, but we made it 1,000 for a reason. We wanted people to be able to enjoy the story and play the game at their pace, and we wanted to get through. Our early.
I think there's only, what, 300 so far on the statue, so they have still 700 slots left, which is kind of crazy when you think about it.
And we knew for hardcore, bold people who decided to do hardcore like on our first day, because definitely a little rock and roll. But we wanted people to have that opportunity. So there's still, still 700 spots available. So if you haven't rolled a hardcore,
still
yet,
700.
you can, today could be the day, or I'm sure we still have lots of time to get there. So, and maybe we'll do something around BlizzCon and the statue. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
I have
thing
BlizzCon
I
is
did
this
want
year.
to remind people is that obviously our next developer update live stream, we'll be talking about that date.
I wonder what they're
soon,
talking
but
about at
we are planning for
BlizzCon.
that to be in early July. We'll be
We
going
are
over season 1 details.
Done with the game announcements.
Ooh, season 1 details.
Ooh, I
Last
just
one.
want to go
Ooh.
with you. That's all.
I know.
Ooh.
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 We're gonna explain the zombie.
Yeah, we're going to talk about more about zombies.
Zombies.
Yeah.
Wait till we are getting a
it's
zombie
really
season.
cool season.
It
Can't wait
is.
to go over all
It
the
is not.
details.
If you didn't watch the previous
Joe
stream,
now has to clear up.
Like, wait, you can't have an inside joke.
this is
if
a
people don't
joke
know.
from the previous stream.
Right.
It
we
is
joked
not
that
zombies.
It is not zombies. Zombies was our illustrative example of what the season could be, but is not.
It's
So
undead.
We were just referring to that.
But yeah, so make sure to tune in for that. And of course, we'll have more of these campfire chats. There's still lots of updates that are coming here really soon.
Yay,
Yay,
Tiffany!
Tiffany!
Rolling, just keep rolling.
And we'll have of course all those patch notes and details up on the site once those are available. As you guys heard, a lot of these changes are going to be coming before season 1.
Yeah, I wonder what they are talking about BlizzCon. I mean, we only know of one more game Blizzard is developing right now, like officially, and that is the survival game
Like and subscribe
with a new
but
IP.
Yeah, thank you guys again, and we'll see you on the next stream.
Yeah, like and subscribe, by the way, folks. That was a good show. Awesome. Awesome. Well, with that said, let me put me also into this exciting thing also. Man, I have to clean up there. Horrible. But that was the stream. Took us like 2 hours. Was alright. I didn't expect anything crazy here, right? Like, I know there were already some people on the Twitterverse, on like other social medias going like, oh my god, do they maybe talk about the first expansion today? It's like, huh? The first what? Why? Why? No, of course not. There is no first expansion talk here. What? Weird. But nonetheless, this was a good talk. So we have to wait for the first patch, like not hotfix, but actual patch happening. And then season 1 is the big one. Again, it's a bit unfortunate that we are now bound to this kind of patching. Like, again, it is what it is, right? And I'm not here talking against it or trying to change it or anything. It's just like, I would just love to go back to this whole, oh, there is something which we can easily fix. Well, then let's fix that. Instead of, we have to wait for the concerts and all that. I certainly like that before all of that. But again, that's gone. That's not happening anymore. So it is what it is. But that was alright. No nerfs. Interesting. No nerfs to the classes whatsoever. Well, at least nothing they officially announced. There might still be something coming. Like, if the before the season patch is really bringing in some heavy changes, there will probably also be some class changes they're not really talking about yet. So we will see about that. But that's it. That marks the end of this stream. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like. And also, if you're new to the channel, you want to see more Diablo content, we're also focusing on some Starfield here and there, and maybe some other RP games, because this is the Mole RP channel. Yes, it's not the Mole Diablo channel. It's the Mole RP channel, even though Diablo is consuming everything right now. So, and I've been doing Diablo content for now, what, 2 months, 3 months straight. There's a lot of Diablo here already, but nonetheless, there will be some other games here if you're interested in those. And yeah, again, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I see you to more Diablo pretty soon. And if not, there will be a new podcast on Monday. Yes, I will re-upload the podcast from this week tomorrow, because unfortunately we had some really bad audio issues and I didn't notice. So that's on me. Let's just say yesterday was rough. Yesterday was rough with a lot of YouTube stuff. So yeah, sometimes happens. It is what it is. Okay, I have to get out of here. Hope to see you soon. I wish you some good loot, and don't kill your hardcore characters if you play. And then I see you for the new podcast episode. With that said, thanks so much for watching. Stay safe. And I see you probably on Tuesday for a new live stream. Yeah. Till then, have a good one. Bye-bye. Ka-ching!